I'm here today with a 2027 Mercedes-Benz CLA 350 4MATIC. I'm going to be doing my 70-mile-an-hour highway range test with this vehicle later today to see just how far it'll go at a constant 70 miles an hour. Now, the CLA 350 4MATIC is the all-wheel drive version of Mercedes' new all-electric CLA. There's also a rear-wheel drive version. That's the 250 Plus. That's EPA range rated at 374 miles, the combined range rating. But when you get it in the all-wheel drive dual motor trim, as I have here today for testing, the combined EPA range rating is 312 miles. These vehicles are on Mercedes' all-new Mercedes modular architecture, and that has an 800-volt battery system. It also has a 2-speed gearbox for increased efficiency, and also silicon carbide technology in the inverters. That also increases the efficiency. This vehicle is all about efficiency. Well, that and Mercedes-Benz luxury. But I think what Mercedes-Benz engineers may be most proud of is how efficient they've gotten this vehicle. With an 85 kilowatt-hour battery pack, greater than 300 miles of EPA range rating, and real-world tests from some other outfits have proven that it can go even farther than that. So I'm going to find out here today just how far it'll go at a constant 70 miles an hour. I'm going to start this range test late at night tonight, so I know I won't have any interruptions and be able to drive at a constant 70 miles an hour. I'll check back in once I'm in the vehicle and the range test has begun. Let's get into it. All right, out on the New Jersey Turnpike, cruising along at 70 miles an hour. Let's first talk a little bit about what I do to set the vehicles up to make sure that the range test is fair. And when we compare it to other range tests, everything was done the same. First up, I always set the tire pressure to the manufacturer's specified tire pressure. And in the case of the CLA 350, with the staggered wheels, the rear wheels are 255/35 R19s. And the front wheels are 225/40 R19s. And the tire pressure for both is 47 PSI. So I set the tires correct right before I left. I stopped off. I can't use my Rivian R1S's built-in air compressor anymore. I sold that vehicle. So now I actually had to go to a gas station and set the tire pressure correctly. But it's all set correctly. I always put the vehicle in the most efficient driving mode. With the CLA, that is an eco driving mode, so I put it in the eco driving mode. I set the climate control to 72 degrees and I put it on the lowest fan setting. And then I check the speedometer for accuracy. And the interesting thing with this speedometer is it's just slightly off. When I'm set the cruise control at 70 miles an hour, I'm actually going like 69.5 miles an hour. So me being me, rather than just saying, okay, that's close enough, what I'm going to do for half the range test, I'm going to set the cruise control at 71 miles an hour and the other half at 70 miles an hour. I won't do it for half and half. I'll kind of just switch it every half an hour or so, just to kind of have it average out at 70 miles an hour. And that should be fine. The weather is in the 70s, good weather conditions, very little wind at this moment at least. It's only like 3 miles an hour, so I love that. Good temperature, low wind. Let me get around this truck. And we are cruising down the turnpike. So I'm doing this at night, and that's because I expect the CLA to go far. This is going to be a 5-hour range test. And honestly, on the New Jersey Turnpike, I can't get 5 hours during the day where I know I can drive 70 miles an hour straight. So on the longer range test, when I can't squeeze it in between the 2 rush hours, I've been doing them overnight. I'm going to finish this range test up at like 1 or 2 in the morning, but that's when I can get the road clear. I never thought that I would yearn for the good old days of COVID when the roads were empty and people weren't driving it. It made the range tests really easy back then. But I'm not looking to go back to the COVID days, so don't get me wrong on that. But I wish the highways were like they were in the COVID days. Okay, so CLA 350. EPA combined range rating is 312 miles. The highway EPA range rating is 309 miles. The city is 315. What a tight spread. That might be the tightest spread between highway, city, and combined that I've ever seen. There could be another one that I've just forgotten, but man, what a 6-mile difference between the city and the highway. So that's telling you this is a really efficient vehicle. And I've seen other people do range tests. Edmunds did a range test and they went really far. But their range test is different. It's not a constant speed range test. They do 60% city driving, 40% highway driving, but still, they got almost 400 miles out of it. So I know this is going to be a long day, and I figured I might as well do it at night so I know there's not going to be any interruptions. So cruising along, actually right now I have it at 71 miles an hour set. This is the big boy version of the CLA. This is all the CLAs have an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, but this is the all-wheel drive version. It's not really a big boy, it's just all-wheel drive. The CLA comes in rear-wheel drive version also. Same size battery, 85 kilowatt hours. That's the CLA 250 Plus. When you equip that with the 17-inch wheels and the aero wheel covers, that has a combined EPA range rating of 374 miles. So it's like 62 miles more than this. And I know this is going to go far, so I'd love to get a hold of one of those. Maybe Mercedes can set me up with one of those. I would have preferred to got one of those on this loan, but this is what was available in the area. It's like a fully spec'd CLA 350, which is what they usually provide you with, the car companies. Most of the time, they give you the best of the best, and it's got everything. It's got the electrochromatic roof. Hey, Mercedes.
How may I help you?
Dim the sunroof, please.
All right, the roof is being dimmed.
How cool is that? This is optioned out to like $67,000, I think, but the base price of it's much lower. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at the 350 and the 250s specs and base prices. The CLA 250's base price is $47,250. It's got 268 horsepower, 247 pound-feet of torque. The CLA 350 4MATIC has a base price of $50,500. It's got 349 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. Both models have nickel manganese cobalt battery chemistry. They both have 85 kilowatt hour battery packs. They both have a 40 amp onboard charger, so when you're charging on AC, you could charge at 9.6 kilowatts. And they both have a maximum DC fast charging rate of 320 kilowatts. The 0 to 60 time for the CLA 250 is an estimated 6.6 seconds, and for the 350 I'm driving it's 4.8 seconds. They both have a top speed of 130 miles an hour, and the EPA range rating, as I mentioned, for the CLA 250 Plus is 374 miles, and on the vehicle I'm driving here today, the CLA 350 4MATIC is 312 miles. All right, well, I'm going to continue driving down the turnpike. Long loops. I turn around every 70 or 80 miles. I want to end where I began the range test, so if there's any elevation change, that kind of negates it. But here on the New Jersey Turnpike, the whole turnpike route that I drive only has an elevation change of about 300 feet, so that's nothing. So I really could almost stop wherever I end, but I usually map it out to end and start at the same location, and that's what I'm planning on doing here today. I'm going to check in on this range test at 50% state of charge instead of at 75%, then 50%, then 25%, then the end. I'm going to check in at 50%. We'll talk about how far we went at 75% and 50%, and then I'm going to check in once again at the end. 2 check-ins instead of 4, specifically because now that I'm driving at night, I've got to set up lights and stuff in the cabin, and it's a little distracting. I don't want to do that 4 times. Twice is enough. So, all right, I'm going to see you when we are at 50% state of charge. Today's video is sponsored by EVChargingStations.com.
If you drive an electric vehicle or you're planning to, this site is packed with comprehensive charger reviews, detailed DC fast charging graphs, and the latest news from all of the fast charging networks. You'll find real-world testing, easy to understand comparison, and deep dives into how different electric vehicles actually charge. Before you buy an EV charger or plan your next road trip, make sure to bookmark evchargingstations.com and make smarter charging decisions.
All right, we just passed the 50% state of charge point. Now, I'm not going to tell you how far we've gone just yet, because first we're going to talk about how far we went in the first quarter of the range test, from 100% down to 75%. We went 95 freaking miles. I can't believe it. I was fully expecting this vehicle to beat its EPA range rating. I figured I was going to finish up around 340, 350 miles, and I still may. But we're tracking like 380. I mean, like, seriously? This is really going to be a long night. The consumption rate is 222 watt-hour per mile, which translates to 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. That is an amazing consumption rate. It will be, if we end up with 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and there's a long way to go in this range test, but if I end up with that, it'll be the lowest consumption rate that I've ever had on any range test I've ever done. The record so far that I have is the Lucid Air Dream Edition, and that was 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, and nothing else has come really close to that. So we're tracking 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. That's nuts. This is a really incredibly efficient vehicle. We still have more to go, but still, I don't have any reason to believe it's going to be that much different when we finish. It'll be a little different, but still, that is amazing. Okay, so as I said, we are at 50% state of charge, and from 75% to 50%, I went farther. I went 100 miles. So now we're sitting at 195 miles driven at 50% state of charge. So this thing just keeps getting better. I tell you, I am shocked. I really can't believe the efficiency of this. The consumption rate actually got a little bit better, a teensy bit better, and it's only 221 watt-hour per mile, which translates to 4.52 miles per kilowatt hour. So 50% driven, nearly 200 miles on half the 85 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now, when I did a Mercedes-Benz EQS 450 range test back in 2022, that went 395 miles, but it has like 108 kilowatt hour battery pack. It's almost 30% larger than this battery pack. Now, of course, the EQS is a much larger vehicle. This is about the same size as a Tesla Model 3. Almost all the dimensions, the width, the length, the height, I think are within 1 inch. So it's really, if you don't know how big this vehicle is, it's the size of a Tesla Model 3. But still, with an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, we're going to get nearly 400 miles here today. That is amazing. I am super impressed. I'm impressed with the vehicle too. Drives great. The only complaint I'll have at all is I think the wind noise is a little bit louder than it should be for this vehicle. It's still quieter than some of the other vehicles I've driven, but with Mercedes, I expected the sound deadening to be a little bit better. Other than that, it drives great, super comfortable. I love this interior. I love this two-tiered center console. Very comfortable. For me, at least, I find the seats extremely comfortable. The outward vision is fine. This is really, really a great effort by Mercedes. I tell you, I had really been looking forward to the BMW iX3 and the BMW i3. Those were kind of the two vehicles I really was looking forward to reviewing from Germany, but I don't know if they're going to match this, to be honest with you. This thing is a great package, and it's not that expensive. When you look at the price, you get the rear-wheel drive version starts at $47,000, under $50,000 for a Mercedes, and a really nice one. So yeah, I hope Mercedes buyers take a good look at this vehicle when they go to the dealership, because this is a really, really good offering. Okay, so next up, I'm going to check in when I am just about getting off the highway, or right after I get off the highway, and the range test is almost over. I'll give you the figures for the check-in that I'm not doing at 25% state of charge, and then we'll go into that final drive to the charger. But I tell you, I think I'm going to be darn close to 400 miles at that point. This is wild. 400 miles out of an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack. Mercedes got the secret sauce going with efficiency. I tell you, this thing is really impressing me. See you in a few. All right, we are off the highway driving. We've got 1.8 miles to go. I'm in a construction zone, so it's like 20 mile an hour speed limit. But man, this thing is amazing. So at 25% state of charge, we had gone 290 miles, which means in the leg from 50% down to 25%, I drove 95 miles. The consumption rate was 224 watt hour per mile, which works out to 4.46 miles per kilowatt hour. Amazing. Okay, and one of my lights just fell. That's what you get when you do these range tests overnight. You got to set up lights in the car. So, 1.5 miles now from the charger, and that last leg wasn't great. Well, this last leg actually was fine, but 50% down to 25% was the most difficult, because I actually hit construction. New Jersey Turnpike started doing some construction, and for like a 3-mile section, we were driving slow. Now that really won't affect the range test, quarter of a mile maybe, but I do want to point that out. For like 2.5, 3 miles, I was driving like 40 miles an hour. But I'm not going to drive this down till it won't go any farther. So there'd be whatever I saved going slow for those 3 miles, there'll be more than that in the battery when I stop the range test. Right now I'm at 0% state of charge, but the vehicle's still saying I have 3 miles to go, and I'm 0.8 miles from the Electrify America charging station. So we're going to make it, but it was a little bit of a nail biter there. In addition to hitting the traffic, on the last turnaround, when I turned around to head back to the charger, as soon as I got off the highway, there was an accident, and I had to sit there for like 8 minutes before the police would let us go around the 2 cars that had the accident. So it was a little rough this last section. I don't want to make sure I don't miss the turn here. The rest of the range test was perfect. I was able to maintain 70 miles an hour the whole time. There was no traffic jams. That's why I did it overnight. I mean, it's 2 o'clock in the morning now, and that's why I did it this late at night. So I knew this vehicle was going to go far. So I knew it would be hard doing it during the day. I didn't know it was going to go this far. Guys, we're going to finish up at like 385 miles. I mean, I'm at 384 now, and 0.3 miles left. I don't know if it's going to tick over to 385. But I'm sure I could drive. It says 3 miles estimated range remaining, and there was never like reduced power. I maintained 70 miles an hour the whole time, even when it got down to like 1% when I got off the highway. Right now, let me see. I got to pull over here. I don't want to miss this exit. I'll juice it a little bit. Actually, this is where I've got to go in here. So yeah, no, it's squishy now. If I step on it, you get a little, but it's pretty squishy. There's not much left in the tank. I don't know if at this point I could maintain 70 miles an hour, because I'm in the Walmart parking lot now. There's no one in here. Let me stop and 20 miles an hour. So, 0 to 20 in 3 seconds. It's definitely reduced power at this point. All right, let me get around to the chargers, which are right here. And it just turned over to 385 miles. All right, 385 miles driven. And I got it back in. I got the whole Electrify America site to myself. This is a 10 stall site, and we are all to ourselves here today. Okay, so I will pull over here. I have to back in because the charge port is on the rear passenger side, and it's a dual charge port. The CLA charges on DC with a NAX connector and on AC with a J1772, and they both fit in the one charge port. They don't have dual charge ports for that. It's all, there's two connections inside the one charge port. Okay, so let me park, charge high voltage battery if the vehicle will be parked for an extended period. Okay, we know that. All right, let me take the final picture, and then let's take a look at the results of the whole test. Okay, from 100% down to 75%, we drove 95 miles and had a consumption rate of 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. From 75% down to 50%, drove 100 miles, and the consumption rate was 4.52 miles per kilowatt hour at that point. Then from 50% down to 25%, we drove 95 miles, and the consumption rate was 4.46 miles per kilowatt hour. And now from 25% down to 0%, I drove 95 miles again. That's interesting. 95 miles, 100 miles, 95, 95. I never had all round numbers like that. And the total finishing miles is 385 miles, and I have 2 miles of estimated remaining range. That's what the car is telling me we could do, and a final consumption rate of 4.44 miles per kilowatt hour. All right, well, color me impressed. I am a CLA fan now. This thing outperformed what I was expecting. I was hoping for 350. I really thought that if we ended up with 350, that would be a win. Don't forget, this thing has an EPA combined range rating of 312 miles. The highway range rating is only 309 miles. So, you know, almost went 80 miles farther than the EPA rated highway range. And you just don't see that often. I know the Porsche Taycans frequently really outperform their EPA range rating, but nothing like this. I mean, this is, you know, next league doing better than the EPA range rating. You know, we talk about the EPA range rating a lot when I do these range tests, and how it's not really the best way to measure an electric vehicle's range. I really wish that the EPA would do an overhaul of that whole system, but you know, that's certainly not going to happen in the next couple of years. At some point down the road, hopefully they do, and offer like different range estimates based on the type of driving, like, you know, highway 80 mile an hour speed, city 40 mile an hour speed. I know they have a city and a highway rating now, but they typically don't publish those. They just publish the combined, and they're not really effective. I mean, the highway EPA range cycle drives at 59 miles an hour. Nobody drives at 59 miles an hour on the highway. So that whole thing needs an overhaul. But hey, it doesn't matter what the EPA range rating says. This thing is a range monster. To pull almost 400 miles out of an 85 kilowatt hour battery pack, man, Mercedes deserves a lot of credit. I mean, not just for the efficiency of the vehicle. I think it looks great, number one, and it's super comfortable. I love the interior, the layout. I think they did an awesome job with this car, man. I am really, this is one of those cars that snuck up on me. I thought I was going to like it. I've seen the pictures. I never really saw it in person until I got this loan, but now driving it on this range test, I am really impressed with this vehicle, and it's a good deal for the price that they charge. I mean, you can get the rear-wheel drive version for under 50 grand. You can get the all-wheel drive version with some options for under 60,000. So, you know, this is a really compelling product. I'm not going to use the word Tesla killer because it's not. But hey, to be honest with you, I would take this over a Tesla Model 3. And I've owned 2 Tesla Model 3s, and I like those vehicles. So I'm not a Tesla hater, but as a daily driver, I'd prefer driving this. Yes, it doesn't have FSD, and I know for some people that's a deal breaker. It's not a deal breaker for me. I love FSD. It works awesome. I use it when I get the cars on loan, but I don't need it like some people feel like they wouldn't get a car if it didn't drive itself. I'm not in that camp. I like it. I love the technology. I wish this had it, but it's not a deal breaker for me. All right, well, now I'm going to plug this in and do a 0 to 100% charge recording. We are at an Electrify America station, and this station does not have NACS plugs. So I am going to use the CCS1 to NACS adapter. It shouldn't be a problem because the adapter that Mercedes provides with this is their Mercedes adapter, which is made by Electron, and it can withstand high amperage for as long as the vehicle is going to charge. And that's not going to be a problem with this. I shouldn't have any derating or anything like that. So that'll be the next video. So if you're a CLA fan or just interested in its DC fast charging performance, that video will be coming up next. This thing maxes out at 320 kilowatts. It's an 800 volt battery system, so we should be ripping along at over 300 kilowatts for a while. Mercedes says that the 10% to 80% is in about 22 minutes, I think, but we're going to do the 0 to 100 here, and if I can drive this thing down again, which means I have to drive another like 400 miles, I'll do a 10 to 80% recording. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to do that on this loan, but we're definitely going to do the 0 to 100 now and map that out. So, well, that's all I have here today for the 2027 Mercedes CLA 350 4MATIC 70-mile-an-hour highway range test. 385 miles with 2 miles of estimated remaining range and a consumption rate of 4.44 miles per kilowatt hour. If this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews and late night range test. This is going to be a late night for me. It's after 2. I got to do a full recording and then I'm 45 minutes from home. But that's my problem. Listen, thanks for watching and I'll catch you on the next one.